Hi, Patrick.
Hi, Catherine.
How are you?
I'm lovely.
So, thank you for agreeing to be on this podcast with me. I thought of you because I think of you as someone who is kind of the epitome of health, good health.
Oh, that's why I'm on here? I
Mm-hmm.
like it. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I didn't
Yeah.
know. Honestly, I didn't know. I was like,
Feel
well,
free to prove me wrong.
no, I think you're kind of in line there.
So, from what I know of you, you are, committed to your physical fitness
Yeah.
and nutrition, and you can cook, which is surprising because I mean, I
Oh,
don't even know, did you teach yourself? Is that something you learned from your family? Because your brother is a proper chef, right?
right. Yeah. I mean, we cooked a lot together, and my mom's a good cook. Um, and I've had a lot of friends that are great chefs and things like that, and I don't know, it's been really easy. It was an easy thing for me to pick up and go with. And I actually did it in a professional way for, a year or two. So,
Oh, that's right, with the
yeah.
seafood.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was weird. I felt like I was like, am I really a chef though? Like I don't have the training for this, but everyone's like, no, you should call yourself a chef. Like you're cooking for people. People want to know that a chef is cooking for them, not just some guy. I was like, okay.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That sounds kind of in line with your personality. I feel like you are one of the most humble people I have ever met in my entire life.
Really.
Yes, because you've achieved a lot and you don't give yourself enough credit. For people who are listening to this podcast, they might not know who you are. So I want you to
Exactly.
to go back into the archives if you're comfortable with it, and talk a little bit about why you might be known to some folks.
Well, actually, I just went home last week, um, and I was at home, and I was like, "Mom, do I have any trophies or anything like that, like a plaque or something?" Because we're opening a gym soon, and I was like, I kind of need some stuff to put on the walls so people know who I am. And she's like, "Oh yeah, I have a box full of all these things." And like to your point, I like this stuff was in the attic. Like this big box of stuff was in the attic, and it's like All-American awards and like like all my Big Ten stuff, all my international stuff is all just like sitting in this box, and I was just like, I don't know. To me, like I was never happy with it, because it's not like if you're not the champ, you're like you got work to do. So that was kind of
Hmm.
always my thought process. So I think that's why maybe I come off as really humble. Um, but to answer your question, um, I wrestled for a long time. I wrestled in college. Um, I placed fourth and then second at NCAA's, and then continued on in wrestling and in made the national team a couple times. Never made the world or Olympic team. That's another thing where I'm like, um, but took that as far as I could, and had a great time with it. Saw the world and had some great experiences. And then from that point, I got into the world of mixed martial arts, and I fought in the UFC for 5 years. But I fought as totally for another 9 years after that. So
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah, my first 4 years was just like trying to make it, and it was tough. Um, and then I finally made it and fought for another 5 years. And when I had my very first fight, I was 30 years old. So I retired when I was 39, and I was like, I think I'm good. I think I've done enough. My body's not responding the same way as it used to.
39 is pretty old for MMA, right?
I'm an old man. Yeah, I
So
think it
how
is.
old are you now, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 44, so that was 5 years ago that I retired,
Okay.
and
Was it the right choice?
I never ever miss it.
Damn. And
Yeah.
do you watch any fights?
Occasionally, if you know a friend of mine is fighting or something like that, but I don't follow it nearly like I used. You know, it was kind of my job to watch fights and analyze. You know, like I when I stopped it all. And it's actually kind of shocking that I'm opening a gym to a lot of people because they're like, man, I remember when you were like done, you were done. You didn't want anything to do with this anymore.
Yeah.
And that was definitely true. I felt like I had so many other interests and so many things that make me me that I don't know. I feel like I could kind of transcend the whole fighter guy, you know,
I believe
label.
that's true.
So I
And I
want,
like that you said that.
yeah. So I mean, I wanted to, you know, explore all these other things, and I did, for the last 4 almost 5 years, I did, and um, but always kept like physical fitness and my health and those kind of things in place, and um, started started dipping my toe into personal training a bit, and
How
you know,
was that?
just kind of staying in it. Well, we talked about this.
All right, but I want everybody to hear.
Yeah, so I
Tell
I
the
mean
truth.
I think a lot of people that can afford personal training, um, they just want to throw money at a problem and expect that something is, well, I did it's like they want this extra excuse of like, well, I gotta have a personal trainer. I saw him 3 days a week, and I'm still not getting where I want to. And it's like, yeah, I get that, but like, it's the want and the real desire to do it. Like you run across those clients like very very infrequently, and it got me I, it got me frustrated enough that I was just kind of like, I'm dumping all my clients that aren't willing to put the work in because they're not worth my time.
Let me
So
ask you a question. Do you feel that it is partly your responsibility as an excellent trainer to find a way to inspire them?
yeah, yeah. I mean, I feel like that wasn't I mean, inspiring them wasn't a hard part. It's just like the stick to itiveness and the what they do when I'm not around kind of thing is it was always the tough side of it because I'm not a registered, you know, nutritionist or dietitian. So like I can give you yeah, I can give you advice on what to eat, what works for me, but I'm not gonna send you a meal plan and say, hey, this
Did
is
they ask
how.
for that?
No, I mean most of them no. I mean they would ask me the ones that were really curious about things. They would ask me, well, what do you like to eat, or how do you do this? What's your whatever, and um, you know that's kind of where I would keep it, and I think I mean that's what we're taught. I think when like when you get certified to be a personal trainer, it's like, hey, you're not, you don't have this certificate to tell people like or send people like diets and that kind of thing. So I kind of stayed out of it. I said, refer to someone more qualified. Although I mean, I've experienced it. I've been around long enough. I know what works for me. I know enough that what works for me might not work for everyone else. So it's hard for me to give advice that way.
Are you a certified personal trainer?
I am.
And what accreditation do you have?
Um, which NASM. So
NASM. Oh, cool. NASM. And
NASM. Oh, that's how you say it. Oh.
I know, I don't know. I've never like
Oh,
Let
no.
me ask you this. You don't give out meal plans. That's like outside of your wheelhouse. That's outside of your scope, rather.
Yeah.
But you let folks know who are genuinely interested what works for you and what you've seen works. Tell me a little bit about what that is. What would you tell me if I was like, hey, Patrick, like, help me out? I don't know what to eat. I don't know when to eat. I don't know how much to eat. What would you
Right.
say?
Well, I mean, I think I would preface everything with like something that's sustainable, is the way you should go. You need to change your lifestyle. Just like, if you've never worked out before, and you know, we have to gradually kind of step into that, and we're not going to go like hardcore, and I'm not going to kill you day one. Like we have to, you know, a lot of things need to be in line. But, so same as with diet. It's like if I change everything immediately, I mean, no one's gonna stick to that. No, yeah, I mean, maybe you might do it. It'll be like a fad thing, and that stuff never works. So it's like I don't know how to say it, but it's just building your building your tastes and what your body likes to like what's an acceptable level of what people call a diet. You know,
It sounds kind of like you're reprogramming yourself, but you're doing it gradually.
right? Yeah, I mean, like anything, you can't just jump into it.
Some people do,
Right.
and even fewer are successful at it. So I like
Exactly.
your approach. I'm
Yeah.
right there with you.
Yeah.
How do you eat?
I mean, I think I get made fun of, not made fun of, but like a lot of people are like, he's not gonna eat that, or what? Like it's like, yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't say I'm strict, but I know what I like and I know what makes my body feel good, and I stick to that. I stick to that line. And
What
very
kinds of
very
food?
rarely do I move outside of that. But what I will say is what a lot of people deem as like unhealthy. I eat a lot of carbohydrates, but I'm very active,
Yes.
and it's kind of like the recent, probably the last 10, 15 years of like people saying carbs are evil, carbs are bad for you, and it's like, yeah, there's a yeah, that can be true, but it depends on your activity level. And I know part of my diet is knowing when I'm going to be active, when I'm not, and adjusting things that way.
What kind of carbs do you eat? I know you eat Coach's oats.
I love coaches. Yeah, that's my every morning. Um, coaches, I love pancakes too, but they have to be like, I don't eat like maple syrup on my pancakes, which people think is weird. Um,
Do you put butter on them?
no, I
So
put
plain
I put nut
pancakes like
butter
made out
nut
of
butter on
flour?
like nut butter on them. I love nut butter on, like make pancakes and then toast them like twice so they're extra crispy, and then nut butter, and it's
Oh man, that sounds
nice.
good. I
Right?
don't put butter or maple syrup on my pancakes either, but I
Those are
don't
the
really
best.
eat pancakes. But
Uh,
when I do, I eat them with my hands.
yeah, I always eat them with my hands. Yeah.
Do you eat potatoes, rice, bread?
All of them.
All of them? Well,
Yeah.
wait a minute. So you're 44, you said?
Yeah.
And how tall are you and how much do you weigh?
Like almost 6'2", and I I sit at 225 almost all the time. It's like,
Almost all the
yeah,
time.
between 220 and 225. I don't know. I don't weigh myself like every day, like or anything like that. But every time I step on a scale, I'm like, here I am in this range.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you ever worry about your weight?
No.
No, never.
No. But because I mean, I was a serious competitor in sports that are kind of revolve around your weight being important, um, for 20 years. Like that's what I did. So I know what makes me feel good, and I can adjust what I'm eating relative to my activity level. Like if I'm working out like a maniac, like so much, yeah, obviously I'm gonna be more hungrier, and that keeps my body in check. My body needs it. Um,
So simply said, when you are more active, you eat more. When
yeah,
you're less active, you eat less. That's it.
yeah, that
You
is
don't count your calories, you don't count your
no,
macros.
no,
Have you ever?
never.
Never. Even when
Like
you
to the
were competing?
no to the point where I like if someone asks me, well, how many calories are in this? I don't even know. I'm
You
like,
have no idea.
yeah, I'm just like, I don't know, 100?
Mm.
Sure.
Do you eat pretty much everything? Meat, carbs, veggies, fruits, all of that stuff? Do you eat processed foods?
I am a very, no, no, like processed foods are not my thing. Like I don't eat, um, I don't know, like I don't eat any deli meat or, like things like that. But it's like, that's super processed. Or I stay away from like preservatives too. Um, and you mentioned fruit. People hate me for this. I have no sweet tooth. I've like when it comes to like dessert time, like it never ever crossed my mind. I'm never craving sweets to the point where I barely eat fruit.
Even when you were a little kid?
No, but I think just like as my like competitive, you know, career kind of like I was more in tune with how my body felt for the purpose I needed it. Um, that just I don't know. That somehow just shaped. I just shaped that method. I don't know.
All
It's
right, so
very
it
odd.
sounds like you just know yourself so well. You're one of these, outliers who it
Yeah.
works for. You don't have to count calories, you don't have to count your macros. You're always sitting at the same weight. Do you even know what your body fat percentage is?
No.
No, and you don't care.
No.
You just know that you're fit.
And I feel good. Yeah, I feel good. And yeah, like if I look at myself in the mirror, I'm like, okay, I feel good about this.
Have you ever looked in the mirror and not felt good?
Mm, yeah, yeah, maybe. But
When?
that was for a purpose. So actually, you would be very interested in this. When I first got to college, this was a long time ago. Um, I kind of like sat in between weight classes, and my older brother, I went to college. I went to Penn State, and my older brother went to Penn State the year before me, and he wrestled 197, which is the last weight before heavyweight, and heavyweight is 285 is the limit.
Whoa.
That's the limit. So like
Okay.
there's a wide range of what if as long as you're over 197 pounds, you can be a heavyweight. But whether or not you're going to be effective there is another story. Um, I was too big to go down to the weight class below that. So my coaches were like, "We're making you a heavyweight, so you need to eat." And I mean, me being who I was already this person at the time, I was like, "Well, I don't really eat junk food. I don't, I like I and I eat what makes me feel good." So it was. I mean, I eating was my job for the next 5 years.
5 years?
Yeah, that's how. I mean, I was in college for 5 years. I redshirted and then I competed for 4 years. So,
And what weight did you get yourself up to?
well, I came in at like probably right around 200 pounds, and my max was like my heaviest was 268.
268. That's significant.
Yeah, but
Was that fat and muscle?
I mean, it was definitely a little fat, but I mean, it's difficult to be eating that many, like that much that you're not going to put somewhere where it doesn't belong. Um,
Right. Right.
but yeah, it was. I mm, yeah, I did. I like. It took me a while to be like, okay, I have to just accept this. This is what I need to do to reach my goals, and it it worked. I got once once all those things aligned. I would say the mental side of competing, that was probably the number one thing that helped me more than anything. My size, and then of course the experience I'd had through being in college for 3 years. Then so the last 2 years, I really kind of came into my own. It was like all these things merged together, and you know made it work for me.
And how did you get mentally prepared for something like that? When you're competing at the highest level like you were, how do you mentally prepare? Do you have like a mental coach? Do you do it yourself? Do you have multiple coaches? Who does this for you?
Well, I was very fortunate because at that time, I mean, this is early 2000s. So at that time, a sports psychologist was like there were there were few and far between, and our school was fortunate enough to have one, and he took like a particular interest in, I would say, individual sports. You know, where it's like there's so much pressure on just this one person, competing as a team, but you can't lean on any team members, and so our and our coaches saw a value in that as well. So I met him just kind of like the coaches were like, hey, we're gonna do a relaxation drill with the sports psychologist. His name was Dave Eukelson. He's like, I love that guy. He's just like always chipper, always just like loving life and loved helping people. And but he also had like the soothing voice that what I mean. That like
Mm-hmm.
we'd be done of practice and we'd all spread out, lay down. He'd turn the lights down, put the piano music on, and he'd like put us through this like just kind of relaxation thing. And half the people would just pass out, or and then but I think everyone really benefited from it. And so from there, I saw that as this is probably something that I need to, you know, explore a little more. And I think he also kind of singled me out as like a person that could benefit from his help. And we I was very close to him and came up. His thing was kind of I forget the exact wording what he would use, but it would be um, it was like a word. It was like in the middle of competition or whatever. It would just like have a cue, like something. If things aren't going the way you want, it would be like you need a cue, something that you can like stop everything. Like this will be your signal to. For me, it was like I would go out of bounds and I'd be like, okay, I just got taken down and the match, I'm losing this match. I would look at my shoelaces and it would like reset me. It was really odd, but
Oh,
it was like
really?
that was one of our drills. That was like, hey, reset everything, come back to center, focus yourself, and you know, attack you know the job at hand.
So your cue was to look at your shoelaces, and all of a sudden you knew, okay,
Well,
it's
I mean,
time to
yeah,
reset.
yeah, exactly. And then it was like, okay, you know, breathe, calm everything down, which was what we started doing in the beginning. A lot of breath work, a lot of that kind of relaxation drill, and just like okay, bring it together, and then like that positive reinforcement of leaning on the training and the experience that you've had to get you to this point. Like you're prepared for this moment, whatever it is, whatever deficit you're finding yourself in, or whatever adversity you have, um, you're prepared for it. And this is how to get your mind back to where it needs to be to go get that.
And that was all during college, right?
That was all during college, but as you can imagine, I pick a sport that doesn't have shoes, so I'm staring at my shoelaces that aren't there, and here, but no, it
And
just
he's
changed
talking
it.
about jujitsu.
Yeah, it changed it to my feet.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm wondering is like before you were competing at this super high level, were you active ever since you were a little kid?
I, oh, very. I mean, I grew up with two brothers, and we were just like, my mom would lock us out of the house in the summertime and be like, "Don't come back. If you want food, I'll bring it out to you. Otherwise, come home when the lights, when the sun goes down." And it was because we were just like wild.
You had so much energy. She
Oh
wanted you
yeah,
guys to go burn off that energy.
yeah, exactly.
And did you play sports in elementary, middle, or high school?
Oh yeah, all the way through. Yeah, all the way through. And we were, um, we played every sport. It's not like the days now where it's much more. I mean, it happened then, but it's much more like prevalent now where you focus on one sport as a kid, and that's what you do until until you're done. And I think I played three sports in high school, and chose wrestling basically at the end, and said I want to take this to see what I can do with it with the next level. Even though I was kind of behind all those guys that were training year round and already at that point. Um, but uh, it enabled me to kind of take it further. I think that kid that's 6 years old that is just wrestling from 6 till college, the likelihood of them competing after college is very slim. That's a long time to be doing the same thing
Yeah.
over and over and over again. So I think when I kind of like hit my stride in wrestling, it was it was different because it was like, yeah, I'd been doing this for a while, but it wasn't my only focus. I had a lot of other physical things that my body was doing. Um, so I think I look at it as that was the difference. That's what kept me competing longer. As
What were those other two sports you played in high school?
I I play in high school. I played football, and then I wrestled, and I did track and field.
What
But
did you do in track and field? Did you do the 200? Did you do hurdles? What did you do?
I actually did the hurdles.
Nice. Me
But
too.
you really,
Yeah.
but for the most part, I was like throwing discus and shot put and this. Even though I was too small to be doing it, but it was fun. Discus
Yeah.
maybe not as much, but yeah, it was kind of like, I don't know. I think I took football and wrestling super seriously, and track was kind of just like, I'm just gonna have fun with this. So it was
Yeah.
nice. It was a nice like mental break, I think. But it's I grew up playing like I love playing soccer,
Oh,
and
you grew up playing soccer? I didn't know that.
yeah, yeah. I was like on all the traveling teams. I loved it, and I would like, yeah, I just like that was my thing. I was, but my dad played football, and my older brother, when it was time, my dad kind of set this like, hey, I don't want you guys playing football until you hit junior high. So we never played, as like peewees or whatever you call it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we never did that. Um,
Was he
so
just afraid for you?
Well, I think he may have had that same thought as that I did was you might burn out with this if you want to if you want to take it further than that you know maybe you shouldn't be doing this so early.
Yeah.
So um, so we all jumped at the chance to play football, and like I had such a love for soccer, and I obviously I had like pressure from my older brother like, what are you gonna keep playing soccer? Come on, like so it was like, all right, like I caved. And I love, don't get me wrong, I love playing football, and it was fun, and I was pretty decent at it. But boy, I love soccer. I kind of wish
And
I still did that.
you can play as an adult.
I know. Well, I'm too kind of broken now.
You're broken? Your body
Well,
hurts?
yeah, I mean, running is something I don't I like. I think when I was maybe 34, I like banged up my knee a little bit, just little things here and there. I went to an ortho guy, and he was like, you're a great candidate for a knee replacement. I was like,
Mm.
man, don't tell me that. I don't want like I'm not gonna do that. So I mean, obviously I haven't gone that direction yet, but I've that's kind of what I'm a big cyclist. I love mountain biking and that kind of thing, and I gave up running for the bike, and that has given me so much longevity. But at the same time, I can't.
You
It's
can't
it's
run.
hard. It's hard on my body to go running. Yeah, on my
You
knee will
feel it
swell
in
up.
that knee in particular?
Yeah, it'll swell up like crazy, and even like boxing, and like too much footwork drills and things like that. The older I got, my yeah, I couldn't handle it.
So it's better for you to just swap it out for something like cycling.
Yeah. Well, and so my mom's she's had a knee replacement. She had a partial knee replacement 20 years ago, and then just recently, since they only last about 20 years, she had it redone again.
Oh,
So the last thing I want to do is get, a joint replacement and then have to keep doing it every 20 years. Like, I'll put it off as long as I can. At some point I'm sure I'll have to have that done, but not quite yet.
not quite yet. I
Yeah.
see. So you just alter your activities in order to avoid surgery.
Yeah, unless it was something that I was like, I love this too much. I don't care what it does to me, type things.
You've never hurt your knee in jiu-jitsu,
mm, Never. I mean, a little bit here and there,
but
but
not the same way that running does.
yeah, and I don't put my knees in as much danger as I used to back when I was wrestling and that kind of thing.
Yeah. So you said your father also played football. Do you feel like it sounds like you and your two brothers were extremely active ever since you guys were boys, and
Yeah.
then all throughout like school and even through college. Do you feel like you have genetics on your side as far
Oh,
as being a little bit ahead of other folks, maybe?
yeah. I mean, genetic. Don't let anyone fool you. I feel like a lot of people, um, genetically are like predisposed to be doing certain things and not others. And I worked with uh, Andy Galpin. I don't know if you know the name
I
Andy
knew
Galpin.
you were going to say that. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was at Cal State Fullerton, and I was I was kind of like his test dummy, and he said, hey, I'll kind of like help you with program you scientifically, um, if you kind of participate in some studies with me and blah blah blah. So his like, this is I don't even maybe I don't know I shouldn't even be telling you this,
Tell
but
me.
yeah, tell me. The his he had kind of like a groundbreaking um, muscle, like he did a muscle study
Hmm.
where he like separated the fibers and could break it down and to see how many um, what were fast twitch and what were slow twitch fibers. And he I was the test subject for
You were the
that.
guinea pig.
I was. So he did a whole study on my muscles, which was pretty funny.
He took some of your meat.
He did. Yeah, I
He
got the
took a
scars.
chunk of
I have
your
the scars
muscle.
and scars to prove it.
Damn.
Yeah, yeah.
And so what did his research find? Do you know?
But I mean, so basically what he was trying to determine was, your ratio of fast twitch to slow twitch, like with conditioned athletes, like where does that lie? So the more conditioned you are, uh, the less slow twitch muscle you have, the more fast twitch you have.
Oh, interesting. Even
Mhm.
if like you were an endurance athlete?
Yeah, yeah.
Really? Oh, that's
Mhm.
interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. I don't, but I mean, obviously, like it'll vary a little bit that way. But yeah, that's. I mean, don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
I won't quote you.
Yeah, I talked to him.
So
But he
genetic
would always say, of all the testing and everything that we would always do. This is the point why I brought him up. I almost forgot. Uh, he would say, "Boy, genetics are like you can't escape genetics. Like you are, you have great genes, and you have to always eh, great genes for athletics."
he said that to you
Yeah,
personally?
he's like that's 90% of this. Is that
Wow.
yes, and then the little things you do, the diet, all those other things. I mean, yeah, they can influence certain things, but when it really comes down to it, like genetics play the most important role.
Was your mom athletic as well?
Yeah, yeah. My mom played field hockey in college.
And is your mom and your dad, are they both athletic still?
don't know. My dad's had some injuries and some, that kind of thing. So he's definitely not athletic. He's like, trying to get to, you know, rehab his body so he can get to, you know, doing normal things.
Hmm.
But I would say my mom's pretty, but I will say they go to the gym. My mom is a big proponent on going to the gym. They go to the gym together. They try to go 3 days a week and that kind of thing. So yeah, I guess they're still athletic. That's probably a better way to say it.
Did your mom or your dad or both of them, did they cook for you and your brothers growing up?
Yeah, my mom's always cooked for us. She when when we were young, my mom was a teacher, and so she just said, "Okay, I'm going to raise the boys," and she was in charge of all that. My dad was also a teacher, but he then went into um, administration, so he was actually the principal of my high school.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which was
While you were going there?
oh yeah,
That's interesting.
I know, right? This
That must
explains a
feel
lot
weird.
about me now.
Do you feel like you could get away with more, or you weren't that kind of kid?
No, I would get it twice as bad at home. Like it was, yeah,
Oh.
yeah. I was like, I had the spies out. All of like I couldn't do anything.
Oh, wow. So it sounds like your mom, it sounds like, God, it sounds like such a wholesome family.
Right?
Yeah, it's
For the most
wonderful. I'm
part,
so
yeah.
happy. I love that for you.
Aw, thanks.
But it sounds like your mom, I'm assuming, and correct me if I'm wrong, but she cooked you wholesome foods. She cooked
Oh
you
yeah,
kind of similarly to how you eat now.
yeah. Oh yeah. She definitely was turned. It was like we weren't allowed to have sweet cereally, sugary cereals. We weren't allowed to have. It was like we barely were allowed to drink soda, like that kind of thing.
Did you eat
Um,
candy?
I mean, it wasn't like something that was around the house at all. But I mean, yeah, of course, I was like, "Ooh, what kid doesn't like candy,
Yeah, I know.
um, right? But
But you don't have the sweet tooth anymore. You
so,
don't need
yeah,
any of
like
that stuff.
yeah, it was kind of like I don't know, she like programmed me so that later in life I was just like, I only like candy because everybody else says, "Ooh, I want candy." Like I was like, I don't want this anymore.
So you
So
don't need it.
yeah.
What is your vice? Do you even have a vice? Is there anything that you know that's not good for you that you do like to indulge in?
I mean, I love eating bread. Like I could eat a loaf of bread, or like a pizza. Like I would just crush a pizza. I I make it healthier by I'm cheese and like dairy isn't my I try to keep that to a minimum just
You
for
don't
my.
really eat dairy?
I mean, yeah, a tiny little bit of cheese here and there. That's it. So
So
I can eat a whole pizza and take a lot of the cheese off, or just like have just I always tell when I order a pizza, I'm always like, can you give me like a quarter of the cheese that you would normally put on there? And they're
hmm,
like, okay.
that's an interesting thing. I never thought of that because I was immediately going to go to why don't you ask for vegan cheese?
Mm, yeah,
It doesn't do it
I'd
for
rather
you?
have the real thing, but because if I know the line. Like if I go over it, I'll be like, oh man, my guts are hurting, and I screwed up. But
Yeah. It kind of
whatever.
reminds me of a story you told me a while ago about your
Oh boy, I'm like, which story did I tell you?
the one where your brother was a chef at a very fancy, I think, French
Oh,
restaurant.
this is a great story.
I want you to tell it.
Okay, so wow, I'm shocked you remember this. I guess it's a pretty memorable story. So, how did I begin this?
You basically were just telling me about like how you eat a certain way because it works really well for your body.
Right,
And then you started telling me about this one time that
right.
you
I think I said I think I said, have you ever shit your pants? No, that's usually how I start. I'm like, you have to have a story about shitting your pants. Like we're all old enough where like that's probably happened at some point, right? And that so my brother he was executive chef at some fancy restaurants, and he had a, classically trained French restaurant type guy. And so I said, okay, I was in Vail, Colorado, like with him and eating. We had a meal, and I said, okay, I'm gonna whatever's I'm gonna try everything, even though this is probably not gonna agree with my diet or like with my taste or like what I want to eat, but I'm okay, I'm gonna do this. And I mean, when I rarely like the oil. I don't know if this was it, but like the oil that I use is I never use butter. I don't consume a lot of butter. Um, and in French cooking, that is the staple. I
Mm-hmm.
you know I'm having escargot in like shot glasses of butter and just like stuff like that, and I'm just like, the food was so rich, and I was like, boy, that I don't like this is. But I was like, I'm doing this. I'm gonna, I'm here for the experience.
Did it taste good?
Yeah, yeah, but it was just like, too rich for me. Like I was just
Yeah.
like, whoa, I don't know how people eat like this. Like,
Yeah.
just made me feel like, ugh, like I was sweating butter. Like I don't,
Ew.
yeah. So, but okay, so the other side of the story, which I don't know how much this had to do with anything, but so the bar manager was a good friend of his, and he came over and was like, oh, I have all these interesting um like digestifs and like old wines that we're gonna all have a sample of. And so he like lined up all these samples for us to have. And so I'm like drinking all these like digestifs, which I don't know, that can definitely aid in shitting your pants too. So it was like this perfect storm of eating super clean forever, and then just like chugging butter and all like the richest food possible, and then having these like a digestif like flight after dinner. And yep,
And
that
we
was
know what happened.
we don't need to get into that, although that part of the story is funny too.
If you want to tell it, you can.
No, no.
I think children listen to this podcast.
Yeah, I'm sure they do.
But, anyways, what you're saying is that you eat a certain way, your body is like accustomed to eating clean. And when you introduce all of these oily substances, it's like it was the amount, it was the quantity that got you.
Oh yeah,
It
yeah.
just literally slid right through you.
Yeah, like my body didn't know how to process. Like, what is this?
It
Let's
didn't
get
know what
rid
to
of
do, and it
it.
and it it wasn't used to it at all, so it kind of assumed it was a toxin. You've got me thinking about the folks who eat that way all the freaking time.
I know, I
They've
know,
accustomed their bodies to be able to process that and not shit their pants.
I know. That's wild.
So your body was literally rejecting it, saying like, this is not good for me.
Well, and that's why I say, like, when it comes to strength training or diet, like you have to ease yourself into things. Because like imagine if you ate that way all the time, and then all of a sudden you just are like, well, I'm just going on the salad diet. I'm just eating a bunch of vegetables. Like that's gonna go through you the same way, you know.
Yes,
And you're
good
gonna be like,
point.
oh, I feel like crap. Like I don't. This diet doesn't work for me.
That's such a great point because a lot of people do that. They think, okay, well, I'm going to start eating a bunch of salads,
Yeah,
and their gut microbiome isn't used to all those raw veggies. And
yeah,
so they bloat,
yeah,
and then they're gassy, and then they might have diarrhea or whatever. And
yeah,
they're like, yeah, they haven't given themselves time, just like you said.
yeah.
Hmm. Do you do you supplement your diet with any protein powders at all?
Very, very infrequently. I, I mean, if I'm in a spot where I'm like, man, I don't have time. Sure, it's there for me, but I'd much rather eat my calories. 100% of the time, I'd much rather eat than drink
Then
them.
drink them.
Yeah, yeah.
Is there a protein powder that you like that you will go to?
There was so when I was fighting, actually this sponsor came through Andy Galpin. one of his very close friends had like a super small batch protein company. They were called Three Fuel, and it was all like grass fed whey and like really really like high integrity ingredients, and that stuff was great. I
Three
actually
Fuel?
Three Fuel, but I believe they stopped making that. They kind of they went a different direction.
So
But yeah,
what
that was
brand do you have at home now?
well. I actually still have tiny little. I
That's how little you eat
yeah.
or drink.
I have so few protein shakes. I still actually have some squirreled away that I'll that
Wow.
I'll bust out.
Wow.
I know.
So you probably don't even take protein bars either.
No, well, like if I'm out hunting or I'm out, like something like that where I'm like hiking a ton and I need fast calories and like I'm carrying it, yeah, I'll eat that stuff.
Hunting, huh? I didn't know that you hunt. I know that you spearfish,
Hmm.
you mountain
That's
bike.
hunting.
What are you hunting for? You hunting for lobster? Is that what you mean?
Well, yeah, I do that, but I mean, on land, I'm talking about. Yeah, like elk. I used to have an elk every year. Um, and I would have an elk tag in Arizona every year.
And
So
so you
that
bring
was
home that
nice.
meat.
Yeah.
That's one thing I think that separates you from most folks is they're not catching their food or they're hunting for their food.
Well, there's a huge disconnect in society with where your food comes from, and I can't tell you how many people were like, "You're a barbarian. I can't believe you do this and you kill." And I'm like, "You're just having someone do it for you. That's
Right.
like you can't. Don't villainize me. Like it's hard. It's a hard thing to do. Like nobody likes to kill things. I mean, I guess there are some people that do, and they're crazy, but it's I love diving and catching lobster, and the hardest part is when you gotta take care of them that way. It's tough.
The people who criticize you, they eat meat?
Oh yeah.
That's not fair.
People, I mean, it's the internet. What do you?
Oh,
Or,
I see.
you
I
know.
see. You've got, okay, haters on like Instagram and
Yeah,
stuff like
yeah,
that. They've got
yeah.
an opinion.
Oh yeah, yeah. And hey, whatever.
Okay, so that's a good segue into mental health. How do you feel your mental health is? And do you feel like mental health is just as important as physical health, or should we keep them separate?
Oh no, it's just as important. And my my mental health. I mean, just like just like people's diets are different. People, like what what keeps me mentally there is very different than what would keep someone else. I don't know if under control is the right word, but just kind of like keeps them in a mentally happy place.
What do you
Um,
mean?
like okay, so for example, I love working out. That that keeps me mentally sharp. Like I love that. Um, but when you do it at a level that's requires you to be, doing it more than you probably want to be doing, or that you feel like is necessary, and it's just like the training grind starts getting real. You have to have a way to offset that mentally. And for me, my way to do that, and everyone thought this was such an odd thing when I was in school. I was a fine art major, so I was like a studio fine art degree, and my balance that like, I mean, the school paper did so many articles on because they just thought I was the weirdest guy. Like, what's this art guy doing that is like, but also like this big heavyweight wrestler that's like, competing at this very high level. So, but for me, it was like I'm getting frustrated in the training room. I got to hit the studio and just kind of like zen out and access a different part of my brain, get some, creativity flowing. And then just the same way that, you know, training too much would get me feeling blah. If I was in the studio too long, like pushing for a deadline, and I'm like at a block, or I'm just kind of like, man, my hands aren't working like they should. I'll go work out, and just like changes everything. And it was like that back and forth balance for me. That was like my my mental health has probably never been better as that time when I had that balance in my life.
So that was in college, right?
Yeah, yeah,
How's your mental health today?
it's great. I yeah, it's great. I mean, I still look for that balance, and I have creative outlets that I have to keep my hands in, and
Like what?
I like to make things a lot. I, you know, my some of my, I don't want to say failed businesses, but like as I was trying to find my way after my fighting career, I explored all the, I had a little art website. I was just like constantly making things and trying, I cook. Like that's a very creative thing too. Um, so I dabbled in all these things, and ultimately, um, it was, I wanted to keep those things as hobbies, not as work. So um, it kind of brought me back to um, training, competing, that kind of thing. Although I'm not competing anymore, coaching, and like I'm just opening a gym on Saturday.
Oh,
Uh,
that is so exciting.
yeah.
Congratulations. Tell us more about that. What's the name of it? Where is it? What's the address?
Ooh,
Everything.
everything. So it's and I think a lot of people are kind of shocked by this. It's a jiu-jitsu and like kickboxing, and well, a personal trainer will have a little personal training, strength training area. Um, uh, and it's right here in, I guess, between mid city and Beverly Hills, that kind of area. It's on Pico Boulevard, and
What's it
uh,
called?
it's called All In.
All In.
All In, yeah.
And it opens on Saturday?
It opens, and we're having our soft opening on Saturday. We've been kind of open all week, just doing like open mat kind of things, and having jujitsu guys come in. Just kind of friends and family, just word of mouth stuff, and so all this week, and we've yeah. So Saturday is kind of our soft opening, and we're gonna start. Our classes will start um, that following week. So
That's
we're
very
having a little get
exciting.
together. You should come. It's gonna be fun. We'll have
I
food.
definitely will.
Okay.
I've tried jujitsu in the past a couple of times now, and I keep getting hurt.
Yeah, we'll come. You can come to kickboxing. That'll be so at 10:30. We'll have a kickboxing class until about 11:30, and then we'll have kind of a half hour buffer, and then we'll have open mats at noon. But the whole time we'll have food and coffee and whatever. So
It sounds like you're going to be
yeah, and
building a community.
exactly, and you don't have, and that's the thing. Is like just come. You don't even have to. You don't have to participate in anything. You don't. Whatever. Just come.
Yeah.
Come hang out. Peace.
Why did you say people are surprised? They're shocked that you're doing this.
Because when I retired from competing, went. I was like, okay, I'm shutting this chapter down, and you know, I'm consulting the creative side of myself and trying to figure out something that way. I felt like I had more to offer than just this side that I showed everyone, and which sure, but what makes me happy is teaching, and
Mm.
I've known that for a long time. Um, I coached college wrestling for a long time. As I was competing after school, I coached for maybe 6 or 7 years. So, and I loved it. Like that, there were parts of coaching I didn't like recruiting and office work and sitting behind a computer. I didn't want to do that, but the my my favorite times were getting kids better, and I was pretty good at it. So it's fun. It's
Nice.
fun to be doing that again.
And you come from a family of teachers, so it doesn't surprise me that it's in your blood.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. I should have
Well, and
known.
you're it's different from UFC and from wrestling because, you know, you're teaching as opposed to competing, right?
Yeah, yeah, but I still got
That's
it.
different. Are you still competitive?
No, I'm not competitive, but um, I still got it. I'm not gonna.
You still got it? So
Oh,
what, can people tap you out?
I can try.
Has anybody tapped you out?
Sure. Yeah, yeah, of course.
I mean,
I'm not like
recently.
I'm not Superman. Not yet. You might be the first one at the gym that's able to tap me out. You never know.
You know what's so funny? When I was rolling at this gym in North Hollywood, these I would roll with these black belts because, you know, they want you to roll with lots of different skill levels.
Right, right.
And when we were practicing chokes, like a lot of them couldn't choke me out. And they were afraid they were going to snap my neck. And I found out that well, number one, I have a high pain tolerance. But
Yeah,
number two, apparently my neck is so small, it's so thin that it's hard for them to like squeeze it enough.
yeah,
But after that week of not tapping out, I fucked up my neck.
yeah,
And it was really, really sore the following week. And then like injuries started. Ego was too strong,
yeah.
too
Yeah.
strong. Anyways.
I,
Um,
it makes sense.
so tell me, I mean, stop trying to portray yourself as perfect, all right? You eat perfect. You work. Have you told us what you do for your workouts? Like, what does your workout week look like?
Um, I try to keep myself on. I may adjust this now that I'm going to be spending more time on the mat. Um, but my workout week usually looks like 4 days of weight training, and then some type of cardio situations a couple times a week. It used to, I used to live in Altadena, and I lived really close to all the wonderful trails there. And like I said, mountain biking has been a big part of my life. Um, so I could ride out of my place and hit the trails for, I think I could be done in like an hour and 50 minutes and be like door to door.
Hour 50, so almost 2 hours?
Mm-hmm. But like
Wow.
total time, like from door to door, and just have like an amazing workout, like interval training. Like like almost like bike sprints. That's kind of how I look at
Yeah.
mountain biking, and but also there's a lot of fun involved too. Like I'm bombing down trails and that kind of thing. But now that I'm in mid city area, it's like it's an hour to get there. I'm gonna ride for hour and a half, 2 hours, drive an hour back, and it's just like, man, it's tough. It's tough to have that as my outlet now. But uh, diving has kind of become uh, eh, maybe it's not as much of a physical exercise, although it's physically demanding. It's a lot more of a mental exercise too. Like
Hmm.
the holding your breath. There's a huge mental component to that, and getting yourself to like trust in your skills, and trust that you know you can hold your breath as long as you want to. It's just your brain is what's telling you to stop. I mean, at some point your body will fail without oxygen, but it's the limit. I mean, I don't know if you've ever watched like some of the Instagram clips
Yes.
of the guys doing line dives, and it's just like they're going to 125 meters
Yes.
and 5 minutes underwater, like exerting themselves, and it's just
I was literally just thinking of all of these documentaries I was watching about these free divers and how long they can hold their breath, and it just blows my mind.
yeah, it's cool. it's a
You train yourself the way that you train yourself in anything.
yeah, and I what I like about it is um it's extreme, but in a different way. My extreme was, I'm gonna step toe to toe with some guy that wants to rip my head off. Like that's extreme. But now, you know, my extreme is I'm gonna push myself to hold my breath for 4 minutes underwater and come back with some delicious fish for dinner.
That's totally different.
Yeah.
Do you,
What extreme
a
is it?
random question that just popped into my mind. Um, do you feel like if you ever got in a street fight, you would know how to like handle that? Because that's totally different than being in the ring.
Yeah, I think I would. But I'm very fortunate that I think, my stature, and I think now that like the UFC is such a widespread, like widely known thing, that anytime someone sees somebody with cauliflower ears, they're kind of like, oh, I shouldn't mess with that guy. So I'm like, I
They think twice.
yeah, like I never get that, which is great because
That's good.
that is not my jam, you know.
Yeah, you're done with that.
I don't want to have to do that, but
You don't want to have to do that.
yeah.
So it sounds like you've got mental balance, you've got some creative outlets, you've got a new business venture, you're doing strength training 4 times a week, cardio about 2 times a week, you're eating whole foods. Do you drink alcohol? Do any drugs?
I drink very little alcohol, and no, I've never really done any drugs in my life. People are like, well, but what do you consider drugs? I'm like, I don't know anything. Like back in my day, like you couldn't smoke weed and get away with it on a drug test to be able to compete. So I still to this day, I've never tried smoking weed. And people think like, they're like,
You've never smoked weed.
no. They're like, how have you made it this long? And I'm like, I don't know. It's just, I don't feel like anything's missing from my life. Like, what? I don't know. Maybe it would be life changing. I don't know. But I'm just kind of like, I'm good.
Not interested.
Yeah.
And alcohol, very, very infrequent.
Very infrequently, yeah. And and I have, I've, I will very, very rarely have more than 2 drinks just because, I don't want to feel like crap.
Yeah. Have you ever fucked around with steroids?
No, I never have. And I got accused of taking steroids so much in college because I was like, I got much bigger than when I came into school. Although I don't think people realize like, oh, this happened gradually over 5 years, and they probably never saw me at the dining hall either. Because if they saw that, they'd be like, oh, this guy's just he's just crushing food.
Did you like eating or did it feel like a job?
It was I wanted to be the guys on the team that were losing weight instead.
Oh.
I did not want to be
Well,
the
if you started at 200, why couldn't you have just shaved it down below 197?
Well, 184 is the next one, and that was too small for me. I mean,
That's too small.
I was still kind of developed. Like I wasn't like right now my walk around weight is 225, and I was like slowly building to that as my normal weight.
That makes sense.
So yeah, it wasn't. I didn't want to do that to myself either.
All right, so I have one last question.
Ooh,
Um,
make it a good
what
one.
what is what's something that you know you need to work on?
Mm. Um, I have a really bad I don't know if you call it a habit or what, but I have a bad habit of agreeing to more than I can handle. Like if somebody's like, "Hey, do you want to do this?" or "Can you do this with me?" or 9 times out of 10 I say yes. It's like, and then when it comes down to it, I feel awful when I have to like let someone down and be like, you know what, like I don't think I can, I don't think I'll be able to make it there, or like I see, like I want to do it all, but I know I can't. So maybe it's I don't like to let people down, or I don't know what it is, but um, I have a hard time saying no to things. And now that I'm like I own a business and I'm kind of like stuck here, not stuck here, but I'm grounded in LA. Um, it's gonna be a lot. I'm gonna have to get better at that because I, you know, in the past, if someone's last minute said, "Hey, let's drive down into Mexico, down Baja Peninsula, and go diving and camping for 4 days," and I would just be like, "Let's go." Like I can't do that now, but I mean, I have to plan ahead to be able to do something like that. So um, I need to be realistic. I'm not.
It sounds like you want to say yes.
I know I do. I know, and I think people know. I think enough people that know me, um, you know, they're gonna know that I genuinely want to do it, but maybe it's not the best idea. So
So you're just going to find more balance in that particular area of your life.
yeah, exactly. And I talk so much about balance, um, mentally and creatively, and athletically, that I might as well have some balance that way too, with time management and expectations.
Well, I know that you have to teach a class tonight.
I do.
So if there's anything else you want to share about your new gym or anything else,
Um, I don't know. Come hang out. Come try out jujitsu. We're actually, and we spoke about this before. We're the whole month of January. We decided to make the gym free for everyone. Uh,
that's amazing.
I mean, we're not gonna. I mean, LA has gone through crazy, crazy couple of weeks, and um, it's unfortunate, and it's tough. It's tough for especially people that love LA and love this area. It's hard to see parts of that get destroyed or like turned into war zones. I mean, I lived in Altadena for 5 years, and it's it's really it's such a sad thing. That's like one of my favorite places, and I'm afraid to go back and look at it. But you know, in speaking about balance, people need to blow off steam, and they need an outlet, and we're happy to provide that. We've been trying to open this business for the past 6 months, and we didn't want anything to slow us down that way, but we also want to be very respectful of the times and everything that the city's going through. So um, we opened. We're doing we've been open all this week, and our soft opening is Saturday, and throughout the whole rest of the month, you can come train anytime for free, and just be warned that you're gonna love the community, and you might want to join up. So
And you'll be teaching classes there, so people get to learn from you.
right, right, it's fun.
That's really cool. That's incredibly generous, and I really, really appreciate you sharing all of that stuff, and I hope and I know that you will inspire at least one person who listens to this
That's
and,
enough for me.
you know, and hopefully we can get some people into your gym. That's an incredible offer, and I'm really proud of you for doing that.
Yeah, yeah, that's the least we can do. If, like, you know, I'm not a fireman. I'm not a first responder, but this is what I can offer, and I'm happy to do it.
Well, that's amazing. Thank you, Patrick.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you.